Hey everyone, we start with Bitcoin. Just I want to give a quick update. Uh, as we can see, we are within this correction. That's why we don't have the much update because uh, the way it's moving is very corrective for quite a long time. That's mean we the only thing is we can trade within the daily correction. And now we want to see what's the next. Most of the chart they have a similar movement. And we want to see whether the price, because after we get this move, we discuss how we can look for trade. We see, because at that times I mentioned the possibility for the next drop similar to any of this. This is exactly what happened. That's why I mentioned we can expect this one turn to a really deep correction. We can be within this correction for quite a long time before we see the continuation. And as I mentioned, since we don't see much movement, that's why we didn't have the update. Anyway, we start with the higher time frame, and if we move to monthly chart, the only thing is we can see we have the correction here. We want to see the breakout of this correction. We don't see anything new. That's why we have to look for the trade based on lower time frame. And if we move to the weekly correction, okay, now the question is, again, I want to repeat this one because we want to see whether this is the correction and we can look for continuation, or we can expect this correction to be in relative to what we have here, and this one turn to a really big correction before we see this move. Okay, we don't want this move, but we have to be aware of this possibility. Okay, and even if this possibility wants to happen, we can expect to see either at this point lower, we can expect to see the price retest this top. If there is no breakout, then that's happened. That means if we are going to get this deep correction, mostly we will get this one. Okay, then first of all, we have to be aware of this correction or possibility, this one to be in relative to what we have here. As I mentioned, we are not really interested to look at the chart in this way, but we have to be aware of this because the possibility for this correction for continuation is there. Okay, that's why we want to see how deep this correction can go. Because with the breakout of the 51,500, we can look for 45 and 37. We can expect that this correction can be deep as 37 before we see the continuation. Okay, that's why if we see the price continue and drop, we can expect for these levels. If there's a breakout, then we can look for somewhere around 15 or 416. Okay, that's why if anyone wants to look for buy, we have to be quite careful. For me, I prefer to see the price reverse without the breakout of the 51 or 50K. Because if there is a breakout of the 50K, then mostly we can experience any of these levels. Okay, again, the reason I'm highlighting all these things, if anyone wants to look for buy as a long term, at least they should know where to buy. We don't want to buy at the top of this one, then this one happen. We don't want this one. Okay, now it doesn't mean we cannot look for trade. We can look for trade, and we are expecting this one to be a correction for continuation. The only thing is if anyone wants to look for buy, they have to know how to trade, where to buy, and if it doesn't move in their direction, then where they should take with the trade. Okay, based on weekly chart, I don't see any trade setup. That's mean as I mentioned, we have to look for trade based on lower time frame. And the only thing is, can we put this one in relative to what we have here for one WAP? If we get any opportunity for buy based on 1 hour forward chart, we'll take it. Yes. Okay. But for me, still I'm expecting this one turn to deeper correction. Still, we can look for any of this drop. Okay. It doesn't mean we cannot take the trade. We will take the trade, but we are considering we are trading within this correction. Then if any opportunity for buy based on lower time frame for one move up, we will take it. But we cannot take the trade because we can expect the price retest there 50 or 51. And whether we have a trade setup, I don't see any trade setup. That's why I mentioned we have to look for the trade based on lower time frame. Indicator doesn't show us any information. And if we move to 1 hour chart, okay, we can look for trade. We can consider this one as a correction. If we get any opportunity for one move, we'll take it. How to look for trade, it depends on the strategy the traders they're using. But the only option is at this point is having a trade above the previous top. And I don't see any trade setup. And if we move to 1 hour chart, similar explanation. Okay. And most of the chart, they have a similar movement. The only thing is how we can get the trade and how deep it can go. We explain about that. But whether we should take the trade at this point, for me, I don't see any trade setup. I'm not really interested to take the trade at this point based on 1 hour forward chart, unless we see some changes. And if I move to ETH, as I mentioned, most of the chart, they have a similar movement. And we want to, because for me, if I see the breakout of 2K for the ETH, again, as what I explained, we can expect the price retest this low, which is somewhere around 900. Okay, it's still similar to Bitcoin. The possibility for this one turn to a bigger correction, but for me, if I want to look for buy, I don't want to see the breakout of the 2K, because if the price broke 2090 mostly, then we cannot put this one as a correction relative to what we have, because at this point, if you look at this correction relative to here, this move, we can expect the stop. Okay, and whether we should look for trade based on lower time frame as a short trade, for me, if I get, I will take it, but I consider as a short trade. I mean the short term trade. And if you move to daily chart, because when the price was at this top, we mentioned we can expect the price drop to any of this level. Okay, see, this is what we get. That's why I mentioned I was highlighting for the continuation and the price can drop. Anyway, at this point, we want to see whether the price can reverse without the breakout of the 2K or not. And if anyone wants to look for buy, similar to Bitcoin, if we get any opportunity for buy from here based on lower time frame, we will take it. And we consider as a short-term trade. And if we move to forward chart, we should be quite careful. If the continuation as a corrective, we are not really interested to look for trade because of this move. Okay. And for me, I don't see any trade setup. I'm not interested unless if it start to move. If I see the sharp move flag above this correction, then maybe I will take the trade. And 1 hour chart, similar explanation. As I mentioned again, most of the chart, they have a similar movement. Okay. And the XRP, this is what we have been looking for.